Let's see if we're on yet. I don't think so. There we go. Okay. Okay, we got one person on. It's either Washington, Oklahoma, or Oregon. Well, could be all three. Welcome to our Thursday meditation, our Thursday mindfulness. Came on a couple of minutes late because today's been quite a day. Ah, there it is, Valerie in Olympia. I knew that it had to be Washington. So this has been quite a day. I just got back from visiting the Department of Motor Vehicles. And my 16-year-old just got her license. Yeah. And I will say it was our fourth time going for this driver's test. So this is a lesson in patience. It is a lesson in stick-to-itiveness and being resilient and bouncing back from failure, I guess you'd say. And first time we went, she did okay, but happened to drive over a curb. So that's an automatic. You have to come back 2 weeks later. So I set it. It was a Monday, so I set it for 2 Mondays from that day. My wife takes her in, and she goes in, and it's supposed to be 15 days, not 2 weeks. They told me 2 weeks. I made the schedule. It's supposed to be 15 days, so they go, and they're told to leave. Last week, we go in, and forgot the permit. So went all the way there, standing in line, forgot the permit. This week we go, and everything went smoothly. So the crazy thing, though, that happened is we're waiting in line to go in, and there's a woman in front of us in the car, and the guy comes in, he checks all of the stuff there. She starts driving and turns, and her car goes over the curb. She doesn't even make it out of the parking lot. So when we saw that, we just started cracking up, and we're like, look, it happens to everybody. What are you going to do? What can you do? Excuse me. So, the characters we've been following in the Torah also have a tremendous amount of resilience, right? You have someone like Joseph, who was sold into slavery, who worked for a while and then was put into jail. You have Moses, who's a stutterer, who has to leave his home. Abraham has to leave his home. Jacob has to leave his home. There's a lot of difficulties that our biblical characters go through, just as we do in our lives every single day. And it gives me comfort to know that the biblical characters are as flawed as we are. And that no matter what happens to them, we hear about their story. We hear about their story as it happens. And it could be wonderful things happening. It could be terrible things happening. We hear about them in the same way. They're written for us. And so it is with our lives. Talked about this a little bit yesterday, right? Our stories are written as we live them. Everybody's story is a little bit different. Each person can gain and lose, and yet we all still continue to be. So we have to take it with us as we move forward. And I think that's something that she will take with her. This idea that, you can fail, you can miss it, you can think you're doing it right, but you're not doing it right, and you got to try again, and you got to get back there, and you got to keep on doing it until you accomplish what you need to accomplish. And I think that is what Joseph does. I think that's what all of our biblical characters do. So if there's a through line to, or a direct line, if you think about it, from the characters that we look at in the Torah that are extremely flawed, and our own actions, which are extremely flawed, then we can kind of just better understand that we're just human. It always comes down to that. It always comes down to the fact that as we live our lives, we're going to make mistakes. And we need to learn from our mistakes. And if we don't learn from them, then shame on us, right? But we're going to make them. Human beings make mistakes. The people we love are going to hurt us sometimes. The people that we don't love are going to hurt us. People that we come into contact with that we've never even met before, they could have a huge influence on what happens to us in our lives, because we could be damaged by them, we could be lifted up by them. There's this famous scene at the beginning of the Joseph novella where Joseph goes to look for his sons, and he just comes across this man who's just aimlessly walking in the fields, and he says, "What are you looking for?" He says, "I'm looking for my brothers." And he says, "Oh, I saw them. They were at this place here." And then Joseph never sees this guy again. Who was this guy? What an incredible influence this unknown, unnamed character had on Joseph's life. Because if he didn't find his brothers that day, maybe they wouldn't have thrown him into a pit and sent him off into slavery. But there was this unnamed stranger that had an absolutely huge impact on Joseph's life. There are strangers that have that same impact on us. There are people we know that have an incredible impact on us. It's all part of our story. Again, it always comes back to that. We kind of talked about this yesterday, but I'm filled with this joy that I have for my daughter getting her license, but also what she had to go through to get it, I thought was extremely important. And it just shows what life is about. It doesn't matter anymore how many times we had to go to the DMV. She has that piece of paper, and she's a driver. At this point, I would say get off the road, but I think she's going to be pretty good. So perhaps what we can think about today are those times when we had to overcome, those times when we had to persevere in order to achieve whatever it is that we had in mind to achieve. And it could be something simple, it could be something difficult, It's like when Michelle was first making chalot. It was a couple times they didn't come out right. So you keep on trying and you keep on getting better. That's what life is. Life is failing and then getting back up. Interesting, we were talking about fear, and being fearless isn't having no fear. Being fearless is not letting the fear that you do have surround you or control you. And that's what you have to do to persevere. You have to put aside your fears. You have to put aside your worries. You have to put aside what's happened before and say, this time I'm going to accomplish. So maybe you can think about those times in your life when you were able to or unable to overcome either your fears or something that you wanted to do in your life. Let's go quiet. Let's concentrate on our breath. Bring ourselves from the doing of the day to just being. And concentrate on what our breath feels like inside of our bodies. We'll go for about 20 minutes. The last 5 we'll ask for joy, and we'll ask for to feel whole. Let's get into a position you feel is strong yet relaxed at the same time. Okay. it's all possible that our minds have taken us away from our breathing. So without judgment, just bring yourself back to concentrating on your breath. As we move into our last several minutes together, we ask for two feelings to come over us as we head into our weekend. May I feel joy. May I feel whole. Joy's hard to come by these days. Nachman of Bratslav calls it the hardest of all spiritual endeavors. We can get there. May I feel joy. And may I feel whole. With each breath, offer yourself one of these, or both. May I feel joy. May I feel whole. May I feel joy. May I feel whole. If you'd like to offer it to someone who's in front of you, in your mind's eye, you may do so with several breaths. May you feel joy. May you feel whole. May you feel joy. And may you feel whole. May you feel joy. You feel whole. Let's just bring it back to ourselves. May I feel joy. May I feel whole. May I feel joy. May I feel whole. May I feel joy. May I feel whole. And just end with a couple of blank breaths, just feeling the breath go in and out. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you were able to find some peace and stillness. May you feel joy, and may you feel whole. And may you have a wonderful Shabbat and a fantastic weekend. We'll see you next week.